Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Regularization is to be made easier for small cannabis farmers in Jamaica. This story takes a lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 29th September 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Jamaica's government seeking to make regularization easier for small cannabis farmers. Javon Keys of TVJ News reports.
The government says it's looking to make entry into the cannabis industry easier for local grassroots farmers. The industry ministry says a number of steps have so far been taken to aid the transition. 2015 saw the establishment of the Cannabis Licensing Authority, CLA. It was dubbed a watershed moment for Jamaica as the country sought to formally venture into the multi-billion US dollar global industry. Since then, successive government administrations have promised to advance growth in the sector, meet global standards, and make it easier for small farmers to be regularized. That is yet to become a reality. State Minister in the Ministry of Industry, Dr. Norman Dunn, says the country is still keen on reaping the benefits from the industry.
So our vision is to have a medical, and I stress the point, medical, therapeutic and scientific cannabis industry that creates equal opportunities, enables people's health and wellness with safe and diverse products, foster investor confidence, and strengthen the Jamaican economy through effective regulatory framework.
While speaking at a recent cannabis expo in St. James, Dr. Dunn says a cannabis task force has been established to discuss and address the issues in the sector. The consultations have led to the creation of a new permit to benefit small farmers.
We have lowered the fees, we have modified security arrangements, and they will be able to sell to CLA licensees. They will use the traditional and the transitional period of 2 years. And that's what the license of for 2 years. So they will use that period to enter the existing licensing regime.
He says strict protocols must still be adhered to prevent trickling into the illicit trade. Meanwhile, Dr. Dunn also says cannabis tourism is high on the agenda.
The CLA has already developed a permit for cannabis stores that will allow visits to approved cultivation and retail facilities, as well as approve alternative development communities. Because remember, those communities are coming on stream. I mean, Akumpong was the first one. And then as we build out these alternative development communities, then tours can be offered in those communities.
He says aspects of that program could get underway by year end. The government is hoping to grow the sector to tap into the export and value-added markets.
Over now to Trinidad and Tobago, where the Chamber of Industry and Commerce there says the country is at the crossroads. It hosted its customary post-budget analysis on Tuesday. Its CEO Charles Pashley was the first to take the floor at Tuesday's presentation. Urvashitawari Rupnarayan of TV6 News has this report.
Today, Trinidad and Tobago stands at a crossroads. The time that we never thought would come is here, where our country is faced with but a temporary stay in our declining fossil fuel industry. The cessation of unsustainable entitlements, food insecurity, and overall the consequences of a failure to diversify is here.
Chairman Charles Pashley says annual budget presentations often have impressive plans and intentions, whereas implementations of those said plans can sometimes fall short.
But our history has shown that we have persistent implementation deficits. For example, digital transformation has been a long outstanding goal, but this has not been comprehensively rolled out. which has negatively impacted the ease of doing business.
Taking note of government's intention to amend the Petroleum Tax Act, the Chamber CEO says more needs to be done, and adjusting the supplemental petroleum taxes to attract new and more intensive drilling is only the start.
While this was partially addressed in the budget, a comprehensive review still needs to happen and ought to be undertaken urgently and as planned.
For Wade George, chairman of EY Caribbean, an incentive like this can make a huge difference.
Right away, you can go from something like having a profitable well just below the threshold of, say, $70, $75, depending on the particular well in question. And as you cross that threshold, the economics of that particular well deplete significantly. So it's a big issue for oil producers, and therefore the relief provided in this area would be welcome to some extent.
He said performance of the energy sector was reflective in the deficit.
When you take a close look at the deficit, the most meaningful impact on our fiscal deficit is the performance of the energy sector. So when you compare the performance in the first 3 quarters of this year as per the central bank's report, energy revenue would have contributed something in the order of close to 47 to 48% of total revenues. And that X factor wiped away substantially the fiscal deficit.
But according to Mr. Pashley, the budget did fail to mention key areas with the potential for revenue generation, like the creative sector, and in his view, it sidelined critical areas for development.
Agriculture has unfortunately been the black sheep of the national budgets. Even now, agriculture received almost the same as last year's budget. That's the second lowest overall vote by the Exchequer. But we have been feeling the effects, of the inflation-linked global disruption to supply chains. And the issue of food security is suddenly looming large in Trinidad and Tobago and in the region.
Urvashi Tiwari, Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar says the economy is on its deathbed and accuses the finance minister once again of peddling a false narrative. This was her initial response to the fiscal package presented by Colm Imbert during a 4-hour presentation. Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan of TV6 News has more.
Trinidad and Tobago's economy is on a deathbed. It is not just unhealthy. We are on a deathbed.
Initial thoughts shared by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar on Monday evening.
Contrary to his boast, the economy is not growing. It is declining. Whether it's going slow or fast, it is declining, it's contracting.
She called Finance Minister Colm Imbert dishonest for not quoting the internationally accepted real GDP figure instead of using nominal GDP. A look at real GDP, she says, shows a decline of 20% while Minister Imbert was in office.
Since they came into office to now, GDP has collapsed, but the minister comes with his nominal GDP. And he did it again today. He did it today again. I can't find the exact words, but he used nominal GDP to show a higher GDP, when obviously every year has fallen again this year.
The opposition leader calls for full transparency on the Heritage and Stabilization Fund.
He said that he put about $165 million US into the HSF. But you know what he didn't tell us? How much is it total in the HSF? How much is it today, Minister? You have to tell us that. Because what you've done, this minister has withdrawn $2.5 billion out of HSF over the years. TT, $17 billion, huh? Our savings. They have never put a cent into, not one red or black cent, into the HSF, but withdrew in their 7 years about 17 billion TT.
She also admits to not being satisfied with the 4% offered to public servants.
We had settled in our term of office about 140 135 wage negotiations. They have settled only one in their 7 years of office, and that is with the amalgamated union. I believe it's amalgamated one. Not one in 7 years has been honored. Then you come to the 4%, and I will make that commitment today. You cannot raise the fuel prices, you can't have all the food prices, everything rising up, and you want to keep public sector workers at a 4%. You could have found the 23 million to pay this man rent, and you could have found the 250 million at NGC to pelt it away, and there are many other examples. And you can't find money to pay public sector workers.
When asked what she thought of the one-time payment to healthcare workers, Mrs. Bissar-Visessa said it's something she has to see to believe.
Reward a team who has with the highest national award in the country and other awards at the Republic Day Awards. You reward them for presiding over a country, ours, that has one of the highest death rates for COVID. You presided over a country that locked out its own citizens for 2 years, and you're getting national awards. You presided over the management of this thing, the lockouts, the deaths, and one of the highest school lockdowns in the world.
She questions why members of the TTPS too were not similarly rewarded. The opposition leader will formally respond to the budget this Friday. Rashid Kumari, Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
New tourism brand launched for St. Kitts and Nevis. More in this SKN Newsline report.
A new tourism brand for St. Kitts was media launched 20th September by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority at an exclusive event in New York City. According to the authority, the new brand, a campaign called Venture Deeper, encourages the exploration of St. Kitts, and the visuals and content will be used on various platforms, including the Tourism Authority's website, on social media channels, for television advertisements, as well as for other digital platforms. The event was attended by Minister of Tourism Marshall Henderson, who is quoted as saying, quote, St. Kitts is relatively new to tourism, only focusing efforts and resources to tourism within the last 20 years. This gives our island a very different ethos in the Caribbean. We are contemplative, nostalgic, and soulful. We appeal to intrepid travelers eager to explore, to learn, and immerse themselves fully in a new experience. There are many layers to peel back when exploring St. Kitts, and we are excited that the campaign showcases this unique positioning to the world. End quote. Tourism Authority CEO Elson Tommy Thompson reported the new brand evokes the spirit of St. Kitts, and it has been very well received. Glenbach reporting for SKN Newsline.
Tourism figures in Antigua and Barbuda are said to be improving. Ursel Charles of ABS News reports.
Tourism figures so far during the summer months of 2022 have been encouraging. However, Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua-Barbuda Tourism Authority, Colin James, says he foresees strong improvement as the next tourism season is set to begin. James says much of this will be in the area of airlift into Antigua-Barbuda.
Because we have WestJet back, now when we have Sunwing. Good news, from the 8th of October, Air Canada comes back to Antigua and with a flight from Toronto, and in December, they come back with a flight from Montreal. Going through to the rest of the year, the US left will be solid. We have Delta back, we have United back, we have JetBlue coming back. And so already back and working through us. So we are seeing those numbers will be ramping up towards the end of the year.
Cruise figures are even more impressive, as James explains.
From October, I think we have about 6 calls due to come in. We have about 36 in November, and December is the big month. 69 calls are scheduled to come in December. So you're talking over 200,000, between October and December, over 220,000 roughly cruise ship passengers who should be coming into Antigua and Barbuda. And that's good.
The tourism season usually runs from November till April, but officials have been working to maintain year-round interest in the destination. For ABS News, I'm Ursel Charles Jr.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I
am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.